Good evening, 12s, and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast. And also the Talk podcast. I am we are dual simulcast with Joe Stevens from Seahawks Talk. It's great to have you back, Joe. It's been a minute. How you been?
Yeah, a lot. Oh, I guess I'm pretty good. I thought I was going to say a lot better than last time we talked, but that was before we played the Rams, I
Yeah,
think. So,
we
yeah,
were
doing
excited then. Like the
doing
juices were
good.
going.
I think I'm back to the level of excitement of which I was before that game. So,
How could you not be, right? Because we had a mini disaster, mini crisis for like a week, and then we bounced back. I think we bounced back pretty good over the past couple of weeks. Seahawks finally not finally, but eventually getting a victory against the Panthers after getting another victory against the Lions the previous week. So we're on a roll, and considering the circumstances with which they've gotten these victories, I'm feeling pretty great.
that's how I am too. I mean, as a fan, I didn't expect I can't say it wouldn't have surprised me if we lost that game just because Handy Dalton, yeah, we're 3-1. Well, now we're 3-2 lifetime against him, and yeah, I was more nervous when they said that Bryce Young wasn't playing because I think we had a better chance against him.
Definitely, for sure, because it seemed like if you can get really good pressure on Bryce Young, that's pretty much all she wrote. And he's just not able to analyze coverages in the same way. Andy Dalton can completely rip apart the Seahawks like soft zone. Like he just knows where to find the ball, and really, he still did a pretty good job of doing that. I think if Bryce Young was playing, it's not even a contest.
Well,
Um,
and here's the other thing too is like I go to all the games. That's probably the loudest I've heard the stadium since well before COVID.
mm,
And it was awesome. It was, you know what, the first couple false starts, it kind of got the crowd going right away because we haven't been able to generate those at home. And then giving false starts to that crowd, it's like dangling candy in front of a baby. They just want it more and more and more. So once they realize that, hey, we can finally affect these games again, let's go ahead and do it. So that was awesome to see.
which was almost historic. 8 false starts in total for the 12s to completely rattle the Carolina Panthers. And really, it was an illegal shift at the end, so it's not technically a false start, but there were 9 penalties that the crowd alone allowed, which is crazy. I think that's the most since 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
I did see that. It's definitely the most since 2005 at in Seattle,
Hmm.
and that was against the Giants when they false started 11 times, and their kicker missed 3 field goals that game too. So that was a good one.
So it's good to see that the impact can still be there because
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a while since it was like intense like that, and you didn't know if that was just fading out. I don't know if it was circumstantial. I know that that it was the anniversary. They were celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the Super Bowl, and so they had all the guys there, and
They
KJ did
didn't
like a
though. That's what
halftime
I was
speech.
disappointed about. They didn't. On social media, they had Marshawn and Sherman at the party the night before, but Marshawn and Sherman weren't at the game.
I'm not surprised Sherman wasn't because I figured he'd be elsewhere, just given his like role. Even though it's not Thursday night football, like I figured just his role, he'd need to be
He was in
elsewhere.
his house. He was in his house in Bellevue after the game, though, on
He
his
didn't come.
podcast. So yeah,
Oh,
so I don't know. He probably obviously was busy. He
yeah, he
loves.
probably needs to see all the games. Like I get that. Like he needs to watch all the games so that he can like respond, like talk about all the games right after this. So that I get it. It does suck.
And Marshawn was probably still sleeping. So
Absolutely. He was 100% asleep. Like that's not even really a question. KJ Wright, I did see his halftime speech, which seemed to also kind of get the crowd going because if it maybe it's just me, but it seemed like the noise cranked up after halftime.
mhm.
And so and that's why I don't know if it was circumstantial or just hype over the Super Bowl anniversary, or if we can expect that sometimes moving forward.
Part of my thing is too is there was not a lot of Panthers fans there, and so that's another thing. Tickets were a lot cheaper to buy for that game.
True.
So Yeah, I'm not expecting it against the 49ers this year. They traveled like crazy to us last year. It actually
Yeah,
pissed me off. Like, I've
yeah, it was
never
kind of
been
bad
mad,
looking.
and like I sit on the home sideline, so just to look at the visitor sideline and just see a sea of red, I was actually really irritated. So, yeah. Anyways,
Understandable, understandable.
but yeah, it was
So
awesome to have us impact the game for once in like what seems like it's been such a long time. So,
yeah, it's been a while since you really had that effect. So anyway, that was great. And there's not a ton of analysis in terms of this game to me, in terms like it's really just a game of survival. Like
mhm.
with the injuries that the Seahawks, like if you would have told me not only the Seahawks injuries going into the game, but also just that people kept getting hurt throughout the game,
That was the
right?
theme too, because Bradford was out for 8 snaps, I think.
Hmm.
I heard it was 8 snaps. And then
Um,
was it the play right after he went out when Burns just smoked either Stone Forsyth or the left guard?
Probably
Um,
Stone Forsythe. Stone Forsythe. Yeesh. Tough game for the guy. I mean, he held up well enough to not embarrass the team, but he got some immediate like pressure. Like when he blows an assignment, he really blows it. Like it's there's no
yeah,
delay.
you saw that one sack, right, that I'm talking about, where
Yeah,
he just I
it's
couldn't tell you. I think it was the 3rd quarter. Maybe it was the second. I can't remember. It was middle of the game, and Brian Burns just blew right past him. And Brian Burns is not a guy to sleep on. He is
no,
really
it's
good.
good, but
Yeah,
it was immediate. Like it was like no tech. Like just why were you even standing there? Kind of like blow.
exactly. I just noticed he went right between the tackle and the guard and just boom right to Gino, and I was
Yeah,
like, okay, here we go. And then they were able to quiet him down. I know we haven't talked since before week 1. I like Gino's pocket presence this year a lot. And in the
yeah.
first half of the game, he made some bad throws. He really did. There was a couple. I mean, obviously there was the interception.
Hmm.
Um, there was a play right before that where it could have been picked off if Tyler Lockett didn't jump 10 feet in the
Yeah.
air to bat it away to get intercepted. And then there was one play that really stuck out to me. It was when Noah Fant was running an out route, and it would have been an easy first down, and Gino just missed him. But in the second half, the offense really cleaned it up, and I like to see that.
I think that made some differences with pass protection. I think they tried a little bit too much. I think they put a little bit too much confidence in the tackles. When if you go back and look at the Lions film, which I did,
They were chipping.
it was really Gino sort of navigating the pocket. And the thing was because you had the interior presence doing okay, Gino
Hmm.
was he's able to navigate edge pressure better than interior pressure, which most quarterbacks are. So he was able to kind of, escape the pocket, throw on the outside and be confident that way. But because of the breakdowns on the offensive line, especially in that first half, Damian Lewis went out. Then they had, yeah, like you said, Bradford's replacement, like his like the backup's backup had to
That,
come in. Like
that's when I was like, "Oh crap!" When it
Ben
was like
Brown
the
is
third
playing, and
string guard, I was like, "I don't even know who this guy is." I
right,
couldn't tell you. They don't give us programs anymore, so I have no idea who it was.
it just random dudes, like practice squad dudes, and I'm like, okay. And so people are saying like Gino sucks, and I'm like, Gino's playing behind a third string guard, man. Like it's one thing to escape tackle pressure, but when you're trying to escape interior and edge pressure at the same time, like that's just yeah, bro. The throws are probably gonna be off. Like I wasn't even mad at Gino. I didn't like the play, but given the situation, I'm like, especially on third downs was a real problem in the first half, right?
Exactly.
They kept getting field. I mean, they were going down the field, but when it came to third down, in terms of the red zone, especially, it was just a no go, and everybody was like, you know, Seahawks Twitter is like frustrated, and I'm like, I mean, I'm looking at third down, and it's an obvious passing down, right? So,
Hmm.
because most of the time they were behind the sticks, and I'm like, Stone Forsythe's getting beat off the edge immediately, or Jake Curhan's getting beat off. I mean, they both gave up 6 pressures. It's according to PFF. Um, Alone, like each, like not 6 together, like 6
Yeah.
each. So I'm like, yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it because the rushers just know pin the ears back and just go for it, and they
Hmm.
pretty much won every time. So
Yeah. Um, I'll tell you, it seemed like they were playing great in between the 30-yard lines, or at least the 25s on that game. It's like, boy, they were great at midfield in the first half, and then it's like field goal, field goal, field goal, literally 5 in a row. So to see him being able to put it away in the second half was really hopeful. I'm happy that all those field goals happened in the first half and not the second half, because I feel like this would be a completely different conversation today. So
Unfortunately, I hate that that's the case. That, and I get the whole like it matters how you finish thing, but like I don't know. I feel like teams make adjustments, and really you should give credit whether you had a bad half, good half. Like I mean, like whether it was in the beginning or the end. If you had a good half, you had a good half, and it should be given credit. But I get it. Jason Myers' redemption game
yeah,
hit
for
all
sure.
five of the field goals because I was kind of holding my breath because like we keep getting these field goals, and like, is he gonna make them? Because
Yeah, I wasn't. I'd say I was nervous for the first three, and then the second two, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. He's got his mojo
he's
back.
got it today.
Yeah, um, yeah. I don't know. I just think with all the adversity they're going through, I mean, that team's going to look tremendously different on Monday.
Yeah,
Should have Phil Haynes back, right? Should have Charles Cross back.
correct.
Um,
Expecting him back. Reek Woolen.
yeah,
Um,
Jamal Adams, Tariq
yep.
Woolen.
And then I don't know if I'd be surprised if Trey Brown made it through concussion protocol because I mean he's another guy like mid game right that he got wasn't
Oh,
that his, yeah like
I
he went
forgot
out
about that. Yeah, he went in for a tackle and
got
like
a
he got
concussion.
knocked out or something.
Yep.
Yeah,
So then they had to bring in Michael Jackson and I'm like oh gosh if
he
it's
did
anything like the
decent.
preseason.
He did decent. Did looked
Um,
better than he did in the preseason. That's for sure.
I agree.
Um, I thought bright spot was Witherspoon. I mean,
Yes,
I thought he looked great. And there's obviously some rookie things, right? But what did you think on that third down play, that pass interference? Because, like I said, I haven't watched it on TV or
I
anything.
haven't been able to find. I haven't watched the replay. I've heard it was a crap call, so I know that. But I
Okay,
was sort of kind of multitasking around the second half when that happened, so I pretty much missed the play. Um, but everybody says it's crap, and I believe it's crap because like I didn't even really like the DPI he got last week against the Lions. I understood it right
yeah,
because I guess of the rap, but given that he got pushed off on,
hmm
like I kind of felt like that was more like OPI. But whatever, like,
yeah.
but this everybody just says it was like a phantom,
And that
non-existent.
that play on third down, we would have that would have been they would have punted, but instead they drive down the field, and that was their touchdown in the second half, I
Yeah, it's a
believe.
momentum killer.
So it truly was, but you know what I like to see from him? He was pumping the crowd up the whole time. You can tell he plays with attitude. He's not afraid to get around and tackle a guy. And what I like about him too is he's not focused on the hard hits. Like there was one stretch play where he just basically forced the guy out of bounds and it was a 1 yard gain. Instead of trying to go for a big hit or just completely whiffing on a tackle, he only gave up 1 yard instead of giving up, 6. So
Right.
I really like to see that.
Yeah, he's really sticky in coverage, super sticky in coverage, and just really instinctual in a way that I thought would translate really well. Um, he just kind of seems to get it. Even when he's in zone, he just knows how to recover quickly. And I really hope that he can stay on the field, get those reps, because the idea of him and Withers, like they kept throwing it. I was surprised how often
I kept
they
saying
kept
that too.
throwing at him. Like,
I said that the whole game. I kept by the fourth quarter. I go, I get it. He's a rookie, but I mean, Jackson looked a lot worse than
yeah,
Witherspoon from the sample sizes, right? They're
right.
small, relatively small, but you're just like, dude, they keep trying him all game, and he keeps even if he gives up a catch, which he did not give up that many.
No, I
Uh,
think he gave up. Would say two for like 13 yards. I think.
he
I
made the
remember.
tackle. He made the tackle right away.
Yeah,
I mean, he was playing terrific defense.
and so to
I'm
be
excited to
targeted
see.
that much and only give up, I think it was two completions on 13 targets, if I'm not mistaken. I want to double check that, but it's like 13 targets is insane. Really, it is.
Well, and they dropped
Um,
back 58 times. And that's one
yeah,
thing. Everybody's going, oh, well, 360 passing yards. Okay, well, he dropped back 58 times.
right,
It's not like he dropped back 32 times
right,
and
exactly,
got 360 passing yards.
right.
This
You
guy
hate the
dropped back,
yards, but
pardon?
yeah, you hate the yards mostly just because they had a couple other guys get 300 yards, but in context, you'll take that all day. Like if a guy
Yeah,
just got to throw 60 times to get it, so be it.
yeah, and we made him one dimensional. And I think the Panthers rushed for 98 yards the first game and 130 something the second game, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. So they seem like an average running team. I realize that Miles Sanders, is it, a
Hmm.
running back? He's not an all pro running back, but if you're doing this against average teams and not below average teams, if you're completely shutting the run down, that makes me happy. You know,
And it doesn't really matter because they were getting ran over by Joe Smo Blow
last
um
season.
last season. So like it really didn't matter who was running the ball last season. They still got ran over. So for them to still be able to hold up against a decent back, and they've held up well against so far.
Yes.
Really elite actually run defense. A lot of that has to do with Bobby. Statistics show, and I thought he would be a big difference maker in that regard. That's why I wasn't super concerned about the big guy in the middle.
Yeah.
I wasn't super worried about that because I felt like they made other well scheme changes, but also like personnel changes to help with that, and that's held up.
Hmm. Yeah, and then that just goes to show too. They've figured out that they can pressure the quarterback a little bit too, because everybody's not just trying to run it down their throat.
Yeah,
So I think Boye had a nice sack, and I think Reed got there twice. Or
yes, he
I
had 2 sacks.
on the stat sheet it was 1.5, but really
Yeah,
yeah. So I like that. I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more sacks on if you drop back 58 times, but they're
well, I
big
think
plays.
they got 4
Oh,
total.
was it 4?
Not Jaren Reed by himself, but like the team. Yeah, the team got 4 because Jaren Reed had 2, Boye Mafe had 1, Jordan Brooks, he got 1 on the blitz, so it was 4.
Oh, well, sweet.
Yeah, and then
Never mind then.
they had like 7 quarterback hits, and PFF gives them 36 pressure, so the pressure was there. Like it was, I mean, it was consistent. Now I would expect it to be against
Yeah,
that
me
offensive
too.
line, so like that's not a I don't feel like it's an indicator of the future, but you need to be able to take advantage of weaker offensive lines. Excuse me. In last season, there were times where they could not do that. So it's
Yeah.
improvement, and I'll take it.
And we're going against a not a very good one coming up here.
True.
Uh, I think they're ranked.
2 in a row. Love to
What?
see it again.
Yeah, no, I'd absolutely love to see it. I don't know if Saquon's going to be back, but
No,
you don't think he's going to be back because they said
no.
he's day to day.
With a high ankle sprain 2 weeks later, no.
Okay, well,
A running back, no.
I'm hoping he's not back. Just as a Seahawks fan, obviously.
I
I
wouldn't be
just
worried about that. I'd be really surprised, and if he was,
not
he's going to
100.
be super like he's not going to be Saquon Barkley. Like
Yeah. And then we saw them last year. They played us, and for some reason, they didn't run against us. I don't really know why. Do you remember
they
that?
They did, but Saquon only got. They tried. It That was just the one game we could play run defense. We held them to like 24 yards, and I stick to my head for whatever reason. But I was proud of it, I guess.
Well,
Anyway,
the first 3 drives, he had one rushing attempt. I remember that
yeah.
clearly on Saquon. So they, if they did it, I don't. They definitely didn't do it early and
Now
often.
I
So
think I think they tried throughout. Um,
just wasn't working.
yeah, they don't. They didn't run it a ton. Like I'm not gonna pretend like they like just continued to try to push the issue, but um, they held them in check. It was respectable. I recall because I remember looking at the attempts, and if I'm remembering right, I don't think it was anything just super low. But I'd
Mhm.
have to go back and check. But I want to correct the Devin Witherspoon stats. He got he allowed 5. He allowed 5 catches, but it's still on 13 targets, and he did allow 31 yards. So still a 38 percentage like
Yeah,
reception.
I'm not worried about that.
Nah,
I'm really not. And just the eye test, without looking at the stats, I thought he looked phenomenal for a
yeah,
rookie.
for sure. I think really he's better than some of the stats will indicate. Um, all right, Steve-O, shout out to you. What's up? Um, Thoughts on Thursday's game? Last Thursday game? Oh, with the 49ers and the
No,
no wait, there was the Rams playing. Wait, who
no,
played? No,
it
that's
was
Monday.
it was the 49ers and Giants. I didn't watch much of it.
I I
Did you?
did. Well, but I watched so much football since then that it like escaped me. Was there really anything to report other than like, I
The,
mean,
the 49ers won.
yeah, was that one that was back and forth?
No, I don't think so. I think that was them and the Rams that were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
So,
I'm sorry, man. I don't have a ton of analysis on that one. Y'all have looked great. That's all I got. Y'all have
oh
looked
yeah,
great.
check out Bryant's comment down there.
What's up, Bryant?
How
Yeah, your
about
guy Bobo. More Bobo. Got
so?
a
What
touchdown
happened
today.
that drive? They got down to the 1 yard line, and I look at my friend and I just go, "They're throwing it to Bobo here." And I said it like 3 times all day, just kind of being a smart ass, and they actually did. And I was like, "All right, sweet." And then so we're at the stadium. They never actually signaled touchdown, or like nobody could really see it clearly.
No.
So on the screen, it still said 2nd and 5, and they're running the next play, which was the 2 point conversion, but they were already down on the 1 yard line. So everybody in the stadium was actually kind of like, what's going on? Was that a touchdown or not? Because it did say 35 points, but it still said 2nd and 5. So we're like, dude, what is going on?
That's weird.
And then they finally announced it was a 2 point conversion. We're like, okay, sweet.
Guess it's got a touchdown. Right.
But
How was that, by the way? Like watching that live, yo, Gino pulled some rust like magic out of his pocket, bro. Like I was
there was one
that.
play where he did a pirouette. Oh, it was
Yeah,
that two
it
point
was a two-point
conversion.
conversion. Yeah, like he went like backwards and backwards. I'm like, oh, Gino, don't do it again. Don't do that sack again. And then
It
he like
looked like the
delivered
NFC
across his
Championship
body.
game against the Packers. It looked
Yes,
exactly when you were sitting there. It looked exactly like the NFC Championship game, except he
yes,
didn't float the ball as much, right? So we're like looking, we're like, dude, what is he doing? And keep in mind, half the people there still thought it was 3rd down, including myself. I did not know if that was a 2 point conversion or not. So I'm just sitting there like, what is going on? Is it about to be 3rd and 15?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can only imagine watching that live because it was insane watching it from the screen. I'm like, what is happening? Like the ups and downs of my emotions, especially on the back of everybody giving them so much crap about doing that against the Lions in the fourth quarter, to end the game pretty much. I was like, come on,
I
Gino.
understood the concept of him doing that,
I did
but
too.
the execution was very poor.
Correct.
And
He
I
could
do
have threw it
not think
away. Had he thrown it away, it would have been perfect. Like just get rid of it before they can sack you. Because when he was killing the
exactly.
clock, I understood what he was doing when he started doing it. I'm like, oh, he's running down
Me
the
too.
clock.
He tucked the ball away even. I don't
Yeah,
know if you remember that. He tucked the
yeah.
ball away and then just started running around in the backfield. I'm like, dude, just go down, I
Just
guess.
you
Just
know,
it's gonna hit the 2 minute warning.
throw it away. Like you got it. Like enough time to run off the clock. Get rid of
Yeah.
it. You're good. And I just knew he was gonna get rid of it, and then he got sacked. And I'm like, oh crap, Gino.
Yeah, exactly. And that one sack, we allowed one sack that game, and that was not on the O line.
No, at
So
all.
um but yeah, but Gino did have some great moves in the pocket that game to get away from sacks too.
Yes,
So
he
I
did.
can't say it. I can't. That Lions game, that was a top-notch opponent. I know it sounds weird saying the Lions are a top-notch opponent, but that just showed that we can basically play with anybody, and that made me happy to see that.
I'm
So
not gonna say anybody, but we can play.
okay, we'll find out. How about this? We'll find out in November if we can play with
Correct.
anybody.
That's really when we'll find out if we can
Because,
play against anybody.
and I'm happy it's coming towards the latter part of the season
Yes.
too, with those tough opponents, mainly the 49ers and Eagles, throwing the Cowboys in there, even though last week they're still a good team. So I'm glad that this is coming during the season. All the injuries, cross my fingers, knock on wood, we're getting rid of all the injuries early.
Yes, right.
And then we have an early bye week, which
Right.
I was mad about at first, but now I kind of don't mind it.
Right.
So
It seems to be at a convenient enough time. So if they can just stay healthy after the bye and get some continuity, I'd feel great about this team because and that's really a real question, especially from the secondary perspective. They need some continuity. It's just kind of been dudes rotating in and out so far all season and really all off season. Like nobody's really been consistently there. For one injury or another, like Reek Willen being banged up and then being banged up again,
and Witherspoon not being there at all.
right,
I mean,
Witherspoon not being there at all, like So you really want to see these guys get some momentum, and then if they can do that, you feel a lot better about that tough stretch relative to maybe how you felt preseason. And it's still going to be a tough stretch, no question about it, because the game's going to be so physical. But honestly, I'll take it. Like I'll take a hopefully healthier team gaining momentum. And besides, you really want to you want to play your best ball now. Anyway, like you want to play
Mm-hmm.
your best ball as
December.
the season wind downs, right?
Yep.
Pretty much. Um, let's see, got a good question here from Steve-O.
Rams are cards number 2 in this. He's just being a smart
Who's
ass.
number two? Well, for 1 minute there, it looked like it was gonna be the Rams. But
I think
apparently the
it's
Cards don't want Caleb Williams bad enough. So there's that.
I think it's the Rams number 2, the Cardinals number 3, and then the 49ers number 4, if that answers your question.
That's great. That's great. Oh, let's see. What else is there to go over? Woodsman looks awesome. Jaron Reed.
Yep. Big
Jaron
time.
Reed has looked great. Now, I didn't expect him to be abysmal. I thought he would hold up in theory, right? I didn't know if he'd be able to be a playmaker or a meaningful contributor, but I did expect him to hold up at the point of attack. And that was all I was pretty much fine with. But he surpassed my expectation. I don't know if he's looked this great since like 2018.
I was going to say 17. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
18 is the year he had 10 and a half
Yeah,
sacks.
that's the year he had the sacks. But man, to get some sacks and some pressure from your nose tackle, I see the vision. Like I always saw the vision, right? I understand what they were trying to do: get more mobile, get more agile, get more pressure, even up the middle, and then scheme the run in a way that it's not all on the defensive line. It was smart. Now they got to see if they can hold up against some of the bigger boys in NFC in terms of actual bigger boys like on the Eagles defensive offensive line or the 49ers, which they don't have a strong offensive line, but anyway, especially the Eagles. So yeah, they hold up against those boys. I
Well,
expect
and
that as competition gets stiffer, they'll look more mediocre. But I'll take them looking great against weaker talent all day.
well, yeah, and let's get them to jail early in the season when we have this easier stretch.
Hmm.
Every team's an NFL team, right?
Right.
But so I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll be up there in December. I really do. I think this is where we get our learning curves out of the way right now is October. And then we got the Bengals in I guess it'd be 3 weeks now.
Yeah, after the bye, right?
Yeah, and which is looking better than I expected
I
going
agree.
into Cincinnati.
It looked like an automatic L, but it's
Exactly.
not anymore. I mean, it's possible that it's still an automatic L, but it's far more of a game and far more of a discussion. And if they don't sit Joe Burrow, then it doesn't matter because like the guy, why not sit him at this point? Like I actually feel like you could probably get better play out of the backup
I
sometimes.
don't know. Jake Browning, he went to UW. I don't know about that.
I don't know.
But yeah, we got the Giants, Bengals, Cardinals, Browns before. Well, I guess the Browns have a good D line. That's for sure. I don't know. I just don't really see anybody that I'm absolutely like think is like a major test until we play 49ers, Cowboys, 49ers,
Yep,
Eagles. That's going to be our toughest 4 week stretch of the season. Right
agreed.
now on paper, anything can change.
Agreed.
Was Pete's grade after week 3? B plus. Go ahead.
I'm incomplete.
You got to give a
Incomplete.
grade. Just three
No.
weeks. Give him one.
C.
C. All right.
C minus.
She's always a tough critic, though, guys. You have to realize this about. I learned this from day one. She is harsh.
I'm not. I'm not. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm fair because I was much higher on certain things than you. And so I think I'm hard on Pete though. I am hard on Pete. I'm not big on Pete because I'm very I can't give him anything above a C right now because I still am frustrated with some of the schematic things, particularly in coverage.
Mhm.
Um Still seeing more soft zone than I want to see. And it you know what bugs the daylights out of me? Like I can't. It frustrates me so much.
Huh?
It really does. Him so going having all his 3-4 personnel, getting rid of all of your 4-3 players to re-bring in this new scheme, and then play 4-3 again. Like taking the 3-4 players and playing 4-3 when last year your issue was having 3-4 player no 4-3
4-3
players that
players.
you were asking to play a 3-4. Like I why are we always going backwards? I don't it
Tink-
drives me
tinkering.
insane.
He's
Stop
tinkering.
it. Stop it.
It's been working.
No.
Yep.
We haven't been tested.
Let's see.
We haven't
Let's
been
see.
tested.
We'll see.
No.
I
It's
think
so vulnerable.
Pete's a really smart guy. I really do. I think Pete's a really smart guy, and he wouldn't be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks for 13 years now if he was.
Here's my thing on Pete. I'm almost out on Pete. I'm almost out. He's
I'm
got
not.
this year. This year is make or break for me. He needs to field an average defense, right? Because like you can't be a defensive coordinator who's had a bottom 5 defense for 5 years in a row and keep your job. Like you just can't, man. Like you've had plenty of time over the last 5 years to turn over personnel. You got to pick your players. You got to pick the draft picks. I mean, this defense is yours, man. And if the defense still sucks, it's literally you. You've changed schemes, ran 3-4-4-3, and if you can't make that work, it's you. There's nothing else. It's just you, dude.
But I do believe part of the thing with Pete. So like, I know you've really only been a fan of the Seahawks since Pete, right? 2011.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all I know.
So like, seeing him bring in a different culture from what there was
Steve agrees.
before,
Thanks,
seeing
Steve.
him bring in a different culture from what there was before, and knowing how it was before, even when Mike Holmgren was a great head coach, but the culture was not like Pete. Like people didn't leave
Culture.
here want to come back, and that's definitely something that there's not a lot of coaches that are like that.
I 100% agree with that. I understand Pete's value. I just that's a he's an excellent CEO, right? No question about his ability to run an organization, keep up morale, keep
Hmm.
up culture, but you need to be more than a CEO in football.
Yeah.
You are literally a defensive head coach whose biggest weakness is defense. That doesn't exist. Tell me another defensive coach with a bad defense. You literally can't. Bill Belichick has a great defense. Mike Tomlin has a great defense. Like, you can't name me one. Brandon Staley is the only other dude, and everybody says he's going to get fired. So, Pete gets credit because of the Super Bowl, and he should.
Hmm.
And also the rebuild, right? I get that too. But this year, for me, make or break. Make or break.
Really two rebuilds if you think about it, because we did, yeah, when they disassembled the Legion of Boom, I think
Okay.
I consider that a rebuild, and
Defensively,
really
I
three
question.
rebuilds, right? Well, I guess
No, that's just a
yes.
stretch.
When he came in, they had more roster transactions than any other team in the NFL.
Well, no. I'm counting
Oh,
the
since he's
times
been
when.
here.
Yeah, well, no, I'm counting since the defense sucked. Like the
Oh,
defense
okay,
sucked for the last 5 years, and I'll
okay,
give you that the rebuild it started after the Legion of Boom like rebuild there, but it's like we haven't had a decent defense since 2018, dude. Like
yeah,
it's facts. It's
yeah, for
it's
sure.
bad.
Yeah, no, it has been. But that's another thing too. It seems like we're always in games and they find ways to win, which is awesome
What's up,
because
dude?
we're like the winningest team in the NFC since 2010.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Like I said,
that's another thing you can't sell them short on. So it's like
no,
it is really
Pete
hard.
brings value. Pete brings value. There's no question. It's just I'm not team mediocre. So there are some people who are fine, like just being good enough, right? And if you're fine, like with 10+
Mediocrity.
wins, yeah, playoff one and done after
Hmm.
that type of thing, then like that's cool. But at least for Russell's last year, most of the fan base was sick of the one like round exits, right? Like the exit, we go for one round and then we're out of the playoffs. And I'm still kind of in that boat, even though Russ isn't here. Like I'm still team. I know it's a rebuild, but I'm still like the long term goal is Super Bowl and
Yeah,
can
for
Pete
sure. No, and
do a deep playoff run. I have questions about his ability to make adjustments quick enough in a winner go home situation deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, he didn't really have to make that big of adjustments when we did win the Super Bowl. We played, I mean, let's be honest, we played our base defense. And then when Kaepernick came to town, right, they go, oh, okay, we're just going to play our base defense. And then they
Right.
just go, oh, nope, we're just going to spy Bobby with him all game. And that's how they shut him down.
Pretty
Because
much.
they go, oh, we didn't expect him to run like a running back, but he did. So you just put a spy on him, and then that's the adjustment they made. It was simpler times back then, especially.
Right.
So
And you could get away with it. And now I don't know that you can get away with it. And I love what Pete brings. I'm not taking that away. I understand that there would be a huge loss. I'm not negating that. A huge loss from a player perspective and morale. And whoever would come would have big shoes to fill, most certainly. But he my preference is this. Truly because I like everything else Pete brings. I want him to just fix his defense. Right?
yeah.
But I'm kinda out of patience at the same time.
Well,
Like,
it is very early in the season to be
yeah.
having this conversation,
No,
and
not based off week one. No, it wouldn't.
I was gonna say,
Not based off week one.
I was gonna say, especially the second half of week one. The second half was just absolutely terrible. If we can just continue playing at a pace we are, um, I'd be happy.
Yeah, for sure. So you got a good question. Steve O. On Russ, I'm neutral on Russ. Um, I appreciate what Russ did. I'm not as hard on Russ personality wise as other people are. Yes, he's robotic, but I think there are worse types of humans out there, to be honest, than like dudes who just are too polished that it's annoying. Um, and he deserved all the crap he got last season. I just got I'll be honest about that. All the crap, all that strutting around they did all off season, Broncos fans talking about how much better their wide receiver core is, not looking so great. That part I'm enjoying. But in general, I was rooting for him this year, since my fate is not directly tied to his in any real meaningful way. But I kind of feel bad for him now because that might be the worst defense I've ever seen. Like, and I've watched some really bad Seahawks defenses, so like that says a lot because I'm not pleased with the defenses I've watched from Pete Carroll. But geez, Vance Joseph, I think he's on like a sabotage job personally. Like,
He is
you got to
not
question.
having the time of his life.
No, no, and I know he said he wanted to go to a team that wins, the city that wants to win.
That's my thing. That's my biggest thing is he turned his back on the city, and it's not like when A-Rod turned his back in Seattle for money. He didn't do it for money. Russ didn't do it for money. He wanted fame. He wanted notoriety. He wanted to win an MVP. That's what he said. He felt like people were holding him back. The organization was holding him back when really the whole time Pete was protecting him.
Yeah, and I think I find that to be amusing, not in a way that gives me any animosity towards Russ, but that is he's really the poster child for don't get so focused on your legacy and your future that it blinds your present. And I literally feel like that's what happened to him. He got so focused on my legacy's got to be this, and I got to be a Hall of Fame this, and I have these stats to do this, and like I you you thought you were somebody you weren't, and it's what it comes down to. And now you're stuck duck. I still don't understand why he chose the Broncos over the Eagles.
Because Hackett would let him do whatever he wanted. Hackett was going to let Russ run the show.
Yeah.
Maybe Sirianni would have, but I think Hackett was going to let Russ run the show, right?
Yeah, they were gonna run off the red carpet. It's probably that, and he probably felt like he could get money there. Like, whereas Eagles, they may not have been willing to pay him right before he played a snap. I don't see them going for that. And the Broncos were desperate enough to like, I guess, take anybody. So you're probably right. Like, but that might be the biggest. I mean, I understand why he left Seattle. Him and Pete weren't working. Ultimately,
Mm-mm.
get that cool. But choosing the Denver Broncos over the Philadelphia Eagles,
Well, and I don't know after watching 2021 Russell Wilson why the Broncos thought he was going to miraculously turn back into 2018 Russell Wilson. When you saw it from the second half of 2020 into 2021, it wasn't like you see in Denver. but it was a slow, steady decline. He wasn't as mobile. He didn't want to use his legs. Do you remember that playoff game in Dallas? We lost in the wild card game. He had a wide open running lane in front of him, and he forced the ball in and threw an interception. It's
Are
like,
you talking about the one where they kept running the ball to the point of like,
yep,
yeah,
exactly. But they finally passed it, and you know what? He could have literally walked into the end zone, but nope. Russ has got to use his arm, and you just saw it just over and over and over and over. It was me, 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 me. So
I didn't mind the throwing because I think to some extent, Letworth Cook had some validity. Because they did run themselves into like a brick wall that game. That was a very
oh,
frustrating playoff loss.
for
Um,
sure, yeah, it
yeah.
sucked.
But ultimately, I think that'll be his biggest regret. It's choosing one team over choosing the Denver Broncos over. And oh, to answer your question about why people thought it was an injury. People thought it was A, the injury, or that B, he just didn't want to play for the team anymore. So even though he looked really bad in 21, he did like super rush back from that like surgery. And I still wonder, his deep ball is looking better. I'd wondered if he was going to permanently damage that thing, if it was ever going to be the same, because like that was his throwing hand. Anyway, but I get why people disregarded it, but it was more than just 21. Honestly, I think you could see second half of 2020. I
Yeah.
think that's really, but people don't pay attention to that part. That's just the people don't follow the team closely enough. They felt like we were just being bitter, and that's why I will say I enjoy some of the Broncos' misery. But it's not even fun anymore. My husband's a Broncos fan. If you guys don't know, and it's so sad over there that like it's not fun for me anymore. Like it's just it used to be fun, right? Like, hey, I really
Oh,
thought y'all had
it's
something.
still fun for me.
It's like kicking a dead dog.
It's
You know, the
and
dog is dead.
that's the only dead dog I'm gonna stay kicking. I will. I'm not kidding. It's still fun for me, and I just for somebody to turn his back on the whole city like that, I don't like that at all. Um,
Well,
for
it's really
somebody that
rough.
for somebody that thinks they're bigger than the team, and I'm sure you read the Athletic article where it said he wanted Pete and John fired. Well,
Yeah.
so it's
I
just
understood that though because most people wanted Pete fired that year, so he wasn't alone. Everybody's saying like, "Oh no, I can't believe he wanted Pete fired." But the reality was, literally, everybody was calling for Pete to be fired that same year because everybody felt like Pete was old and the system had ran him down. He just got rid of Ken Norton Jr. and people didn't feel like that was good enough, and it was Pete's defense. People forget that part because and John had terrible drafts for years and years and years. I understood the sentiment. It's good they didn't listen to us, but I don't think it was that far fetched of a request.
I'm one of those people. I've been with Pete all the way, like 100%. I just can't turn my back on somebody that's brought me this much joy compared to how much misery we've had before, if that
It's
makes
fair.
sense.
That's fair.
So, anyways,
All right, let's
how
see. We
about
got some.
how about those Giants?
Yeah, let's see. Um, let's see. I don't know what's going on in the chat. I don't know if it's anything. I thought I saw a question, but maybe not. Oh, that's what I was looking for. He
Oh,
thought he just wanted an O line. Now he wanted more than an O line. His O line, it was actually pretty good the year he complained about it, which I was upset about that. Like the year he chose to complain about his online was like the online's best year by far.
well,
And
and also we find out, especially after he left, a lot of the clock management problems that everybody blamed Pete for a long time, you notice that carried over to Denver more than it stayed here. You notice
yes,
that
yep,
the calls were coming in late in Denver more than they were here.
yep,
So us bitching about Pete, why can't you get a plan? Why can't the offensive coordinator get a plan? Come to find out, it
it was
seems to
rough.
carry over more in
It's
Denver
rough.
than it stayed in Seattle. So,
Yeah, I agree. Now Pete will still do some wild things clock management wise
oh,
and
for
challenge
sure.
wise, but there are things that stand out that's an obvious. But I always thought that wherever Russ went, the online would be worse. I always thought that. Like even people were like, he's getting a better O line. I was like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah,
Because
we'll
I
see.
knew he sacks himself.
That's what I was going to say. Why does he hold on to the ball so long? Why
Yeah,
does he turn his back to the offensive line?
yeah.
You know,
Like he
it's
sacks himself. So he'll run into a sack sometimes trying to spin out of one. So I knew that for sure. What did surprise me though, the play calling. I was surprised that that carried over. I genuinely thought that was a Pete issue. And it was not, which is insane. That's insane. And so it almost gives me more context, right? Because they are continuing. It's been a different coach now. Sean Payton's saying that it's an issue trying to get the play clock stuff in, right? And I'm like, okay, is that why the offense was so simple? You know, like everybody used to complain about the simple offense, right? But could they afford a complex offense
which
if
I
he
would
couldn't
like to
even get the
say.
play calls in?
I would like to say that I love what I'm seeing with the run game and the motions and the two tight ends in the
Yes,
backfield next to Ken Walker. I didn't touch on that earlier.
great.
I loved that. The
Shane
outside
Waldron's cooking.
runs where you had, I think, Park or Disley was out this week, but I know Parkinson was back there, and I'm assuming it was Fant, and they
Mhm.
just had Walker follow right behind his two tight ends. I thought that was sweet, and then they ran a couple pass plays out of it that looked like they were going to be the same run play.
Yeah,
I really liked that. I thought it was sweet, and that's the stuff that we never saw before.
I
So
agree. More intermediate routes. I think Gino was always going to be a better fit just for what Shane Waldron wanted to do. Given how much Russ holds the ball, given his trouble reading pre-snap defenses, given his trouble seeing over the middle of the field, that system, as much as he said he wanted it, never fit him, which is why it was a disaster with Hackett because it that does not it's not Russ's game. So I am super happy to have Gino, not just because it does allow more options offensively, but also, um, I don't know, he wears it like a coat, man. And his pre-snap, it's not perfect. I feel like last season, whenever he audibled out of a play, it was like an immediate hit. Now sometimes I've seen like him audible out of a play and then it gets blown up. So I'm like, that kind of went away a little bit. It's not as strong, but still, super happy with his abilities. Sajjan brings up a great point about JSN. People have been talking about JSN and how he has not been used. What are your thoughts?
one catch for 10 yards against the Panthers, right? Is what his stat line was after the game. I don't know. Is he just not getting open? Is that the problem? I think he's one of those guys by midseason we'll finally see him break a stride, if that makes sense. Just gut feeling. This is no like I'm not analyzing this or anything.
Right.
Just gut feeling. He's probably going to hit a stride about midseason, but we haven't had to be like, where's JSN on the field, right? Because we've had Parkinson step up. We've had Fant, Disley, obviously not last game, but in Detroit. We've had DK play awesome. Tyler's been Tyler. So it's just, where's he going to fit in there? So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's two part. They have tried to get him the ball some, um, but maybe separation is a little bit of it. I also think the main thing is that one, people forget, um, he came back super early from
Yeah.
that fracture. So I think realistically, had he taken the normal amount of time, he would be just actually coming back. Like had he taken the time he should have taken from a broken wrist, he'd just not be playing. So him getting one or two reps or whatever, I'm fine with. I consider it cherry on top because really he probably shouldn't have played. Like he still had the cast on in
In
practice.
practice.
Like,
Yeah, I
you
did
know what I
notice
mean?
that.
Like
And I was thinking too, I was like, is he going to play with that in a game? Like, I was like really confused when I saw that in practice.
right.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Um so he was still protecting that thing, I think, even up to like last week. And he might be better now. So that's part of it. Two, because the O line issues have been so well, we haven't had anybody. They've really had to lean more into those tight end sets, and everybody had said JSN is going to take off because they're going to reduce the tight end usage. Right,
Mhm.
one had to come at the cost of the other because the O line. Excuse me, it's been the opposite. than what everybody thought.
And I liked, especially in Detroit, the first half, how they were using those tight ends to Chip Hutchinson, Chip
Yep,
Hutchinson, Chip Hutchinson. It took him out of the game. It was awesome.
it
I
was.
loved
It's smart.
I
And
loved how
so
they did that.
I agree that I think mid-season you'll see Jason hit his stride, but I think people compare him to, his predecessors like Jordan Addison and things like that. He was never going to get those numbers ever. He was a wide receiver 3, whereas these guys are 1 or 2. Um, and he's a slot guy, right? So like he can't take you deep on the outside. Like, he doesn't have the speed, right, to get separation vertically like that. He's great at getting open and taking advantage of zones and things like that. So also like that's another part where like how teams play the Seahawks will determine his usage. Because if they're using zones, JSN can eat that up. But if they're
Hmm.
playing man, maybe that's not. He's got to develop that part. You know what I mean? Like that's he tore up in zone. I don't know how well he really did in college against man coverage.
Yeah, we'll see. I think rookies just have to work on
Yeah, I'm not
everything. It's
worried.
it's a huge jump. I'm not worried. And then he also says, or she, sorry, my fault. They also say, I'm good with Zach. Yeah, that run by Charbonnet was not just that run. That run was just the cherry on top. Seeing him throw a guy out of the back of the end zone, but yeah, I thought he looked awesome, especially that mix with Walker and Charbonnet. I kind of felt bad that Walker scored the second touchdown because Charbonnet drove him like 20 yards
Yeah,
down to the 1 yard line, and then they give it to Walker. And that was a sweet outside run where Walker high stepped it into the end zone. That was sweet, but I almost felt bad for Charbonnet.
I think after that run where he just like trucked the dude, they were gonna sub in K9. I heard Pete Carroll say this in on the Brock and Sox show, and he was saying that Ken Walker didn't want to go in, that he wanted like Zach to go in, and they were gonna try to get Zach the ball for that, but they ended up going to Bobo. So
Oh,
that's
was
what ended
that
up happening.
was that the one? No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the one where there was on Ken Walker's second drive. I think they handed the ball to Charbonnet twice, and he got it down to like the 1 yard line, and then they handed it to Walker.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. But yeah, I think they said whatever play he trucked that dude, Ken Walker refused to sub in so that Zach could be out there. They weren't able to get on the ball. Then it ended up going to Bobo, is what Pete said. So
Hmm.
it does suck for Zach, but I love what I see. His style is
Awesome.
fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it is good thunder and lightning. They really are good complements of each other. Though it's good to see that Kenneth Walker's been doing better in goal line situations because he used to suck.
Hmm.
He used to really suck in goal line situations last year. He's improved. Um, Still doing it his way too. Like it's not like he just got more powerful, but like he's
Yeah,
just found ways to be more more intelligent
yeah, for
for the
sure.
most part.
And
For the most part,
he's bouncing it outside when he needs to bounce it outside. And
yeah, yeah.
that's what's exciting for
And
me
sometimes
is
he doesn't like that. Was it the Lions game that I was like, or maybe it was the Ravens game or the Rams game? I was like, no, 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 no. You like he ended up having them lose yards at the 5 or something because he like bounced out, but then like
I think that was the Lions game.
yeah, I was
I
like,
think it,
no, but I understood what he was doing because it wasn't like the O line had a great hole for him, so he was just kind of trying to make something out of nothing, and he just ended up going backwards. So that's the only really criticism I have though, which is nice.
yeah, for sure. And then they ask, do you think that we'll beat the 49ers on Thanksgiving?
Well,
No.
first Steve-O asked if we sweep.
Oh, sorry.
No, y'all not sweeping. Not again. Sorry. You caught us in a weak moment. We're in a rebuild. If nothing else, Bobby Wagner owns the Niners. Like Bobby Wagner shows out against the Niners. And I hope they blitz him a couple times.
Yeah, I don't think they sweep. It's hard to sweep the division. The Seahawks have only done
Yeah.
it one. Well, there's one clear time that I remember sweeping the division. That was in 2005. Other than that,
No, no,
only
no. We swept him again. The year that Bobby cut up against was that 2020? 19? It was they had a really injury riddled year, I think.
oh, then it would have
And
been 20.
yeah, I think it was 2019 or 20
Well,
because
19,
Bobby
19.
just
I know we.
wrecked Jimmy Garoppolo, like wrecked
Yeah,
him.
I know 19 we didn't because that's the year they beat us at the last
Yes,
game of the season.
yes. Oh, that's painful. Yeah, you're right. That's painful. So yeah, it was 20. It was the year after because people were surprised after they made that. You're right. They made that Super Bowl run, but then they sort of were injury riddled, and Seahawks swept. No,
No, we didn't.
we swept.
No, lost to the 49ers last week. Oh, that was 19. Sorry, looking
We
at the
swept the
wrong.
year. I can't remember
Look,
what year.
you know what? Yeah, it was 20.
It was
Nope,
20.
it wasn't 20 because we
It was
lost to the
21.
Rams on November 15th. God, sorry. Yeah, I don't know.
There was a sweep year because that was because everybody was talking about it. I know I'm not crazy. Um,
Sorry about that.
so what year was it? Did you find it?
No, I'm looking.
Yeah, I need to know. I need to know.
The
Anyway,
only, the
I-
only year I know for sure was 2005 because our only losses came against the Jaguars, Redskins, and the Packers.
yeah, let's see. Um,
It would be a nice birthday present that I didn't have to open on prime time. Yeah, I hope we beat the Niners. I think both teams will be a lot more even by Thanksgiving.
I agree. Certainly, I definitely agree. Well, the 49ers aren't uneven right now, though.
Oh,
It's really us.
you think we could take them right now?
No, because we're not healthy. But I mean, oh, you were talking about on our side. I thought you were saying on their side too. Because I was like, 49ers pretty much healthy like right now. Like
No.
they got our momentum going, but it's us that need to get our we need to get our lives together. Certainly.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about the Giants? Who do you think? Who do you think stands out? How do you think they're going to use Jamal? You think he's going to be a hybrid linebacker, safety type,
I don't
nickel
know.
type, or
I don't know. They've been really they've I don't, they've thrown so many things out there
I know.
that like at first they were going to do the whole three safety look thing. I knew that, and then they changed that to this 4-3. So does that change the way they went to the 3-4 because they said it was going to complement Jamal, and then they go back to the 4-3? Are they going to do more 3-4 fronts now? Because I don't know. Like I really, Pete said he's not going to be the focal point. I know they're just going to try to get his feet wet. So anything they just want to see him play. So they're not going to change anything schematically.
Hmm.
He's just going to fit somewhere. Probably take Julian Love's reps. I don't know what that looks like in terms of. I don't know. I don't really know what that looks like. And I don't. I'm not
This
sure I care, honestly.
this is going to be so weird too because I think, especially with Woolen coming back and Adams coming back, it's almost going to be like a week one situation to where we don't really know if we're going to see as much going into week four as we usually would know what we're going to see going into week four.
Yeah. Oh, it was 21 by the way. The sweep year.
21,
Yeah, it looks like we beat them October the 3rd, 28-21,
but we
and
lost to the
then
Rams that year.
yeah, we did lose to the Rams that year.
No, I meant entire NFC West. He means entire NFC West sweep.
Oh, I thought okay, gotcha. Never mind. Didn't we win the division that year and then get blown out though in the playoffs?
That was 20.
That was 20 that we got blown off in the playoffs
Yeah, so we beat the
by the
Rams the
team,
week before, and
and
then the
then
Rams
got
came
our
back and
tails
beat us.
whooped in the playoffs when it counted most, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew we had swept them before though. That was the thing that was in my head.
Yeah, no, we've definitely swept the 49ers. I mean, we practically owned them for a really long time. We're 30 and
Okay.
20. We're 30 and 20 all time against the 49ers. So they'd have to win every game against us for the next 5 years in a row to get back even.
That's nice calculations. Oh, I forgot Sajin's question. Yeah. Do I think we'll win on Thanksgiving? I don't know, but I hope so. I think there'll be a split. I just have to hope that we win on national TV. That's all I want.
National TV or not, I'd rather win at home than on the road.
I agree.
That's my thing.
I
So,
agree. That's a good point too. So, yeah. Let's see. There was another question I was gonna ask you about though. It was I was gonna ask you back. I know you're not a Jamal guy,
Hmm.
and maybe it's not about Jamal in particular, but how do you think the Giants game will go
Like defensively or just in general?
defensively? That's really what matters most. We go if
Yeah,
the defense goes.
yeah, for sure. As long as we don't just sell for field goals all game, that's really what matters most. I like our offense. I really do. I love our offense. This obviously not the second half of the Rams game, but I liked our offense. Um, Defensively, I want to see them stop the run. That's what I want to see. And then
Man, you guys are obsessed with that.
really, I am. Yeah, you're right because they ran down our throats last year. Everybody did
I
except
know,
the
but
Giants.
I gotta be honest. In the modern NFL, it matters so much more that you can stop the pass. You need to be respectable, right? You need to be respectable on both ends to the point to where it's not automatically pass because you can't defend the run. I mean, automatically run because you can't defend the run, and not automatically pass because you can't defend the pass. That was a 2020 year. The 2020 year was that nobody ran on us because we were so bad at the pass, everybody could just get 500 yards. So, like, you need to be respectable on both ends. But it matters more to defend the pass, dude. It's like that's where the league's going. I mean, run game, there people aren't even paying running backs anymore. So like, what's the point? We won't even have super
The
elite.
Giants though. The Giants. Are you more worried about the pass than the run?
Depends on the coverage. Even Danny Dimes can. Even Danny Dimes can eat up some easy zone.
Yeah, I don't know.
It depends on the coverage.
I think it'll look a lot different next week. I think for one, we're going to be able to blanket the field better if we don't have Jamal in coverage. I mean, deep coverage or like one on one with a slot guy, right? If we can send towards the quarterback a couple times, which I kind of want to see because I haven't seen it in 2 years, obviously now. So let's see it. I don't know what to expect. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't have any expectations. I just think it's good that he's playing. Let him get his feet wet. It's hard to come back from that injury. So I
Hmm.
just kind of hope he can have the same skill set, honestly. Like, I just kind of hope he can still be good, and then we'll see. Now I do think that Julian Love has been so bad that he probably will be better than that.
Yeah, isn't
That's
that
great news
crazy
for
too?
him.
Isn't that crazy too? Because I thought he was going to be such a high, like a strong point coming into this year. Like I
Yeah,
thought Julian Love was going to be the guy.
yeah,
He's made a
and
couple. He's made a couple flash plays, but other than that,
he's made
liability.
more terrible play. Like, he's given up freaking 200 yards in like 3 weeks. I'm not exaggerating. I'm serious. It's 167 in week 2.
Yep.
That's terribly, but he gave up 400 all last season with the Giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
So maybe getting safeties from New York is not our thing.
They say Jamal can't cover, and I'll take Jamal in coverage over that crap.
We'll
Like,
see. Another thing about having Jamal back is I think the attitude's going to matter, especially him with Witherspoon out there. I think there's a couple
yeah,
alphas out there at the same time in
and
the secondary.
Jaren's
I,
kind of that dude. He's not as flamboyant. Like, it's like he's like tough dude. Like,
who?
Jaren, he's
Oh,
like
Jay
tough
Reed.
dude quietness, but like he's got that same kind of. It's a little quieter. It's not as loud, but
Mhm.
it's just as intense. That dude is.
Yeah, so I'd like that. I want to see how Jamal. We haven't even seen him with Tariq Woolen. I mean, we haven't.
Yeah,
So I'd like to see how they all kind of gel together. I want them to fire up intensity, right? I really want them to fire up intensity because I think
yeah,
that's one thing that our defense lacked for a long time.
I
Is
agree.
it was like, oh well, that's 10 yards, no big deal. We'll get them next time. I want to
Right?
see 'em pissed. I want to see, I want to see that fire. I want the confidence back of I. I know broken record, bring up the Legion of Boom, but they were awesome at we're better than you and we know it. Like that brings so much to the table.
But they
And
were right.
when you know you're better than the opponent, right?
Yeah,
And you practice harder, you play harder, or you can be playing just as hard. You practice harder, and you play with that intensity. It's hard to beat people.
yeah,
So
but they were better. Like, they were Hall of Famers, and we had like people that are not in the league anymore.
yeah,
So.
Yeah,
There was a stark difference, not just in passiveness. Like they had every right to be passive because they sucked.
yeah, they did. Yeah, like Tedrick Thompson and I can't remember
You know
another
who's the loudest like draft bust though?
one. What?
LJ Collier. He talks crap like he's so great.
I didn't even realize he did. I remember him uh, talking about the Seahawks after he left. That
Yeah.
it's
Like
like,
he talks really awfully loud for a dude who like has 3 career sacks. That's
yeah, and that got paid a bunch of money as a first round pick for the
yeah.
Seahawks
He's
to do
like
absolutely
yeah,
nothing.
all the other Seahawks busts are just like quietly busting. But like LJ Collier just seems to like have this chip on his shoulder, like he's really better than what he is.
Well, I
Uh
remember he came into the game one time and he switched his number from 95 to 91 or vice versa. I can't
yeah.
remember which way it was. And I was like, shit, he's still on the team, huh? Like, that was, you know what I mean? Like, when you're a first round pick and you have that, like, oh, he's still on the team. It's not even like with Penny. Penny was just always hurt, but you knew he was
Right.
there.
Right.
This guy, it was like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot about him.
I really
Before we
was
get
ripping
off,
it.
what do you think about Derek Hall? I didn't think much of him. I didn't pay
He,
too much attention to him. I
he's
noticed he played a lot.
improved. He's improved a little bit each week. His first week was really rough.
Hmm.
But in limited snaps, I think he played pretty well against the Giants. I think he got a couple of pressures. And while he did not get any pressures against this past game, he did get a bited down pass. And I just sort of noticed his presence in terms of playmaking and just being around the ball, attempting to bat passes. Um, so his pass rush game still needs to be developed, but I think he's playing better than Daryl Taylor.
Yeah, how about that? And then he hurt his leg and didn't even come back. So who knows if he'll be back? I liked Boye this week. I really did.
Boye's been a monster.
So
Boye looked like he did in the preseason last game.
yeah, yeah, he really did.
Everywhere, like everywhere. That guy was that it was an incredible game from him.
I don't know what happened to Daryl Taylor either, because it seemed like 2 seasons ago, coming into last season, we're like, okay, Daryl Taylor's going to be there and he's going to take that next step, and it just seems like he hasn't. So
I think he's the same player he's always been, which is a guy that could take advantage of weaker offensive lines. And I don't think we thought about that then. Everybody was just happy to see him. But I think they played some weaker opponents when he had those 6.5 sacks at the bottom half of his rookie season. I don't think it was a tough slate of competition. He just sort of sparked and got opportunity, but
yeah, we
he's
talked
still
about
boomer
that
bust for
before.
me.
Yeah,
I know you like him, but he's just proving me right.
yeah, way to be full of yourself there. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
I just saying
We
I
were
don't
rubbing
like him. I don't like him. I just if you're that boomer bust, you can't be that boomer bust in pass rush. You know what I mean? Like you have to be disruptive. That's a thing.
Yeah,
You
we
must
need.
disrupt the play.
Well, I think I've talked to you about this too. Is like,
Yes,
I don't. You
you're
know
higher
what?
on me.
I care about. I want to see pressure, because
Yeah,
pressure causes incomplete passes, pressure causes interceptions, and then if you get there for a sack, even better, right?
yeah,
But I want to see pressure, and
right.
we saw that. What do you think about that roughing the passer call? I think it was on Nwosu in the first quarter.
Crap.
He was way outside the pocket, right? Because that's what the rule is: the quarterback's protected in the pocket.
Yeah,
And I was saying that to myself. Well, not to myself, the guy who I was with. I was like, I think. And then he goes, yeah, and that rule's made for Brady and Mahomes. It's not made for Andy Dalton.
yeah.
So
Uh, let's see. Oh wait, that's not the one that we had a question.
it
Seahawks
was,
long snapper. It's a Chris Stoyle
yeah, Chris
this year.
Stoll.
Now Tyler Ott went. I want to say the Ravens. He went somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to
I
him, but
think it's the
the
Ravens
only
or the
reason
Commanders.
the only reason I know it's Stoll is because of Madden. To be completely honest with you, so
I remember them switching because I remember them making the last minute substitution because Odd got injured or something like that, and so that for whatever reason that's why I remember his
yeah.
name.
And
That's
how do you
like
get hurt being a long snapper, dude?
yes,
That's my thing. Is like, how? What are you doing? That they're not allowed to touch you until you put your head up. You can just keep your head down the whole time like this. And then guess what? Nobody can lay a finger on you. Don't get hurt.
exactly. Yeah,
You
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 only
like
had one job,
clipped a fingernail wrong or something like James Paxton did for the Mariners a couple years ago.
and then for it to be like a season-ending type of injury was insane. Like, how do you hurt yourself long enough to be gone for the season as a long snapper?
Yep.
David McNiner says kickers matter. I would
Yeah.
think that the Niners should feel that way after drafting one in the third round. You guys need to tell yourselves that just to cope.
No, and I
That's
think
still
I
funny.
think I think we should think kickers matter after seeing Jason Myers the first 2 weeks and then seeing him now.
And kickers do matter, but Jason Myers will be gold next year.
And then
Like
seeing
he's gonna be like all pro level kicker next year.
don't jinx us, please. Um, or do you
What?
mean Jake Moody? Our
Jake? No, no,
kicker?
no. I don't mean Jake Moody. I mean Jason Myers. You know that's how he plays. Even years he's all pro. Like he
Oh,
doesn't miss. And then the odd years he sucks. Like it's like go look at his stats. If you don't believe me, it's so consistent. Like every odd year, the guy is trash.
yeah.
He's
I
not
didn't know
trash
that.
enough to be fired, but he's trash enough to like for us to complain about.
Yeah,
And then he has this amazing like he had made all pro last season, right? It was an
yeah.
even year.
Yeah. It's definitely a step up from what's his name, Blair Walsh,
Anyone?
Blair Walsh,
He's some bad
and
kickers.
Janikowski.
Yeah,
So,
dude, Janik, that wasn't he the guy that in the playoffs injured himself because he was so old?
dude, I think he missed. That was that Cowboys game we were talking about. When we just ran the ball, ran the ball, ran the ball.
Yeah,
He like saw that he missed a kick and then grabbed his hamstring and walked up.
yeah.
He looked like he drank like a 6-pack before every game.
It was upsetting to watch him try it out every week. Honestly, I didn't even know why they kept him because I'm like, dude is so old. Why are we even doing this? So as frustrating as Jason Myers is, I appreciate his upside. Um, we just got to tough out the odd years. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. I say I don't know if I have anything else.
Yeah, me neither. Let's just hope we get a win on Monday night.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
We won't get embarrassed. If nothing else, even if everything goes really wrong, the Bears will
Please
be
don't jinx
playing
us.
the Bears.
Please.
I'm just saying, even if it's not one way or the other, I'm just saying that the Bears play the Broncos also at the same time. So like, nothing will look worse than nothing will look worse than the greatest mid off of all time.
Are you a Bears fan this weekend or are you a Broncos fan?
I'm neither.
I'm a
It's like a
Bears
that's
fan
like
on
no one
Sunday.
can root for a mid off. It's like a toilet bowl,
A mid
toilet
off?
Super
I
Bowl.
would not call that a mid off. They're
It's
not mid.
it's a
They're
bad
not
off.
mid. Yeah, that's never mind. That was gonna sound bad.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be some of the worst played football ever witnessed. So we got that going
Watch
for
it
us.
be a great game. Watch it be like an all-time classic. Just battle because
All time
both of their
classic because everybody
because
sucks.
both of their play is so bad that it makes like there's like insane one-handed catches and stuff. I mean, yeah. So
Yeah, man, we'll see. All right, appreciate talking with you, Joe. As always, really, really enjoyed it. It's always fun. Appreciate everybody coming out. Appreciate Sajan being our strong Seahawks representative out there in the chat. All the Niner friends, appreciate your support. Joe, why don't you tell them where they can find you, and we'll wrap us up.
just SeahawkTalk on YouTube. So
All right.
how about you? What do you have going on this week other than this?
Pretty much just gonna do a preview on the Giants game. We got a new co-host, Jen. Not Jen. Sorry, I'm reading this comment. Got a new host, Tino. He's been doing great. He's the host of Sports Ethos Mariners. So do support his channel. He's covering both the Seattle teams, holding down the fort. Um, and yeah, you follow at Ethos Seahawks. At some point, I'm going to get around to actually doing some film breakdowns, maybe, or at least watching film. We'll see. Work's been keeping me busy, but I hope to be able to get some of that going, at least highlight some of my favorite clips from the All 22. So, anyway, be on the lookout for that. That's all the time we have for today. And as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.